Welcome to She Rises Up podcast with Gemma and Lara. We are multi-award winning international coaches, authors and speakers specialized in women's empowerment and conscious leadership for women. Here we want to empower, uplift and elevate you with conscious conversations aimed to unify femininity, business and consciousness.
Gemma, are you ready for this?
I am as ready as one can be.
Today is podcast number 4.
Indeed so.
Yes, welcome to all of you ladies who are listening to us today. Before we get started into today's topic, we wanted to say that this podcast is completely sponsored by ourselves. And the way we do it is we pick some oracle cards. Actually, we don't pick them because literally they fly.
They fly away.
And we take that as a sign that that is the message we need to be focusing on.
Yes, they pick us.
What happens is that then we start talking about it. It's very intuitive. We trust that whatever is going to be shared with you is going to be absolutely what needs to be shared. And the reason we started doing these podcasts is because Gemma and I were having these very deep conversations that we wanted to share to the world, and we found that doing this podcast was the best way of doing so. So this is it. These are the disclaimers that we need. And we're ready for this. Yes? Shall we get started?
Let's do it.
So this week we got 2 cards. The first one, it says movement awakens my creative spirit. That's the first one. And the second card is I focus on what is working. On what is working. So movement awakens my creative spirit and I focus on what is working. Gemma, what's the best way of saying?
Beautiful. Well, you know what? The first thought that came to my mind when I heard the names of these cards were masculine and feminine energy. It's so related. The movement is so related to the feminine energy that creates worlds, basically. But if we don't have the focus energy, which is more masculine, which is linear, and we put the intention to focus on one thing, maybe we set a structure or decide what is it that you want to create. So it's like putting boundaries to the creativity. Then the creativity, when it has this limit, this container created by the masculine energy, by the focus, flows freely within that container that is created by the masculine. If not, it flows everywhere and maybe it doesn't create anything, and it can even stagnate. That is one of the words that came in one of the cards. So that's why the masculine energy is so needed, to create that container, that structure, that boundary that create limitation. And in a way you feel, but I'm less free. But it's not like that. The feminine energy flows freely within that container without those boundaries, but knowing exactly what to do because the focus is set by the masculine. That's what came to mind, the first thing I heard. Those cards, that goes beyond the physical movement that is probably intended by the card, but that's what came to mind.
Okay, I think the podcast is over. This is it. We summarize 2 minutes.
That's it. Thank you very much for your attention.
Yeah, it's very interesting when that was the first thought as well that came to my mind, and focus, and how we need both, right? We need both. And it reminds me, a few thoughts actually just coming to my mind. The first one is how the topic of feminine energy over the last few weeks has been appearing a lot in my life through the work that I do and people wanting to know more. And it was very, very interesting. So there might be a trend there, or there might be a need that wants to come out. And when it comes to movement, also I wanted to share a personal experience that it's been, I still don't. I hope that I could express it the best way possible. Now I have a strange relationship with exercise. Right? Yeah, exactly.
At least you have a relationship. I don't.
Okay, so we know we've been having an in and out, on and off relationship over like what, 30 years or so. Anyway, so the point is going back to one of the questions that I ask myself, and I know that you ask yourself too, that question as a way to tap into our feminine, is what would bring me joy? Now,
Yes.
I knew that I needed to do some sort of physical activity, and the activities that I love doing right now because of what's happening in the world is not possible yet. So one thing that I loved, but somehow I forgot, or I forgot to tap into it, is dancing.
Mm-hmm.
And literally a couple of weeks ago, I started doing some exercise, but all dance, half an hour. And Gemma, it's unbelievable. After each single workout, it's not even a workout, it's a dance workout, it's very fluid. You move your body as you wish with a structure, but very fluid. I cry. After every single session, I cry.
How beautiful.
I cry, and you might be thinking, well, how is that? And the way I interpret that is because of the stagnation of
Yeah.
I had, the feelings that were stagnated in my body that needed the dance
Yeah.
to be released.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And that reminded me that I love belly dancing, and I've been doing belly for many, many years. And yeah, it reminded me to go back to it, as I had it there. And that is belly dancing, talking about that and feminine energy is a great way to connect to your body.
Yeah. Yeah.
When I do these activities, it's almost like it's two things in one. I'm doing mirror work. So you're looking at yourself, but not from an ego perspective. You're looking at yourself from a space of loving yourself more.
Yeah.
You're able to see things that maybe you wouldn't want to see.
Yeah.
And on the other side, you're shifting all these movements that are happening within. It's like, wow.
Yeah. 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 That's beautiful, Lara. And that brings to mind, again, talking about masculine and feminine energy, how movement is so feminine, because that's what feminine energy does. She moves. And I say she, it can be a he. It's not the gender per se, but the nature of the energy. She moves, and that's what it does. While the masculine is present, and is boom, like here I am. I'm present, and I'm stillness is masculine, while movement is feminine. And how you can have both. For example, I was remembering something that happened last night when you were talking about dancing. And when we talk about physical movement or exercise, at least to me, the first thing that comes to mind is strenuous exercise, lots of movement with lots of expression with the whole body. But last night I had a huge realization. I was sitting on the sofa with my partner, and it's a very new relationship, but very deep. And he loves music. He sings, and he really feels a song that he loves when he's listening to it. And he was telling me how he was dancing, but he didn't need to move his body a lot. It was like a harmonious dance with the body, with very subtle movements. And he was expressing to me how he was dancing with his whole body, with the face, with the hands, without moving much. And that brought to me a new concept of movement. It's like a movement that comes from within, that you seem still, but you're actually moving. And that opened a whole new door for me, because like I said earlier, I was associating movement with lots of movement. Well, sometimes you can move, like for example, I'm moving now my hands a little bit to express what I'm saying, and that's movement. And it doesn't need to be too drastic or too dramatic. It can be just harmonious. So from that space of stillness of the masculine, the feminine can move in a gentle way, or it can move in a more passionate way. I don't know. It's just something I learned last night. That movement doesn't imply huge.
That needs a separate conversation.
Dancing.
Dancing without dancing.
Dancing without dancing. It's a dance of the soul, right? The dance of the soul. It doesn't need to be rah.
Dance of the soul. Interesting, interesting. And what else was coming to my mind? What was coming to my mind is yes, yesterday one of my ladies I supported, one of the senior women that I supported in the past, she posted something so beautiful about our work together. Really, really appreciative of that. And she was very also appreciative of my support and influence. And one of the things is she felt, and it was public, so hence the reason I'm sharing it. It was it's being written in a blog, published in a blog, is that how she felt that she needed to step up in a manly way, right, using that masculine energy, when in reality what she needed also is to connect to her feminine energy.
Wow.
And that huge imbalance that exists, and to the extent that actually she shifted completely her career, and doing what really brings her joy. So it's that, right? Look, I have one of my philosophies, it's that instead of gender equality, what we need to focus on is on energy equality. And
yes.
boom. And what we're talking about here is the energy of the feminine, right? Now we're not saying that bye-bye masculine, and by the way, because
not at all.
Masculine and feminine are genderless, we're not talking about here, we're talking about energy. So let's, we wanted to clarify that there. We it's needed, right? That huge imbalance that exists is very much coming from a corporate background where I spent more than 20 years of my life there, realizing that I was so much, my energy was very much driven by the masculine energy. That was needed. And I'm grateful for the masculine energy within myself that allows me to pursue things. And but on the other side, I had lost so much touch with my feminine. Me, everything was go, 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 next, goal. Right? That was like, and one of the questions that I get asked a lot through my work is like, what is feminine? And we've already covered that. Of course, this is our perception. I have also a little bit of apprehension to talk too much about this, because I want all the listeners to tap into their body and to tap into their own being, to come up with their own definition of what feminine is, right? Certainly when you look at stereotypes and you look at on the internet and you look for and you search for what feminine is, oh my god, it's like, anyways, let's leave that aside. That is not, there might be some really, really cool things, by the way, that I found on the internet, but on the contrary, we need to be discerning there. So the best way is to do that. So if you were to ask me how to tap into the feminine, and by the way, I'm going to ask you this question now, so I give you some time to think there. How to tap into your feminine? One is to ask yourself the question of what would bring you joy. What would bring you joy? Creativity is another way of tapping into the feminine. Creativity, creation of life, creation of a business, creation of a project, creation of a piece of art, of a dish, right? That it's another way that I love, and of course that it's not the only way, by the way, and I'm speaking from the space of being born a woman and who still has her menstrual cycle, is to learn the harmonies and disharmonies of our menstrual cycle. I'm 42 and I'm soon going to enter the next stage of my life. And it's only a few years ago, very short few years ago, when I was opened to this new world of, instead of having our hormonal cycle, basically, let's work together. That's let's work together. And I love what one of my favorite authors, Lisa Lister, says, that when you understand, acknowledge, and accept our cyclic nature, we understand, acknowledge, and accept ourselves. Is that right? So I'm learning tendencies about me. I'm learning. I'm collecting data.
How beautiful, collecting data, and that's masculine, right?
It's masculine
from the feminine. How beautiful! How beautiful! That's how integrated it is. And going back to the beginning of your last bit of talking, when you said what is the feminine for you, I discovered very recently that mother energy is masculine, and I was shocked because for years I've worked into growing my mother energy and focusing to that. I'm not a mother myself, I haven't had children, but it's bringing that mother energy to bring to the world. And I thought that was very feminine, and it isn't. It's masculine because you are constantly giving, and the giving is masculine. And I was shocked when I heard that. And obviously, if you are in a mother energy all the time because you have children, maybe your husband is another child, maybe you have parents to look after, that's your mother energy, and you constantly giving, you tap into your masculine energy a lot. So there must be a balance. There must be a balance, and bring them femininity in a different way. And to me, the way to bring the feminine, in addition to what Lara said of tapping into your joy, what brings you joy, is surrender. To me, that's the key to the feminine, surrender. And that goes so much against what's been told by the feminist movements. I'm sorry, ladies, but it is like that. Surrendering to the masculine within you, to the masculine within you that gives you the focus, that gives you the direction, and also to the masculine outside. And it's not submission, it's surrendering. That's the feminine. That's when the feminine comes out. That's when you surrender to be treated certain way, to be admired for your beauty inside, your inside beauty and your outside beauty. Surrender to the flow of your creativity, to the flow of your energy. Surrender that to the masculine inside of you that gives you the flow and the boundaries. And within a relationship, surrender your femininity to the leadership of the masculine, knowing that you are also a leader, that you are a queen, but a queen is a king, and they are both leaders. And that again goes against what we've been told in the world, that we have to be leaders and we have to lead in the masculine way. And when we do that, we get exhausted and we get tired because we're not tapping into the femininity. I remember being in the corporate world years ago. When I first started, I had a team of 11 people and I was a team leader, and that exactly happened to me. I was tapping into the masculine and leading like a man. That was the way. And it failed because I wanted to be caring for my people. I wanted to care for them. I wanted to be motherly and nurture, which again is masculine energy. I didn't know, but I had to lead like a man and lead those traits of the feminine in one side, and maybe be a bit more abrupt or less compassionate. And that exhausts me because it wasn't me, and I thought I'm not a good leader. And only years later I realized that was not the truth. It was that the world was pushing me to lead from that perspective instead of using my feminine traits.
Yeah, and you said, from a compassionate way, from non-compassionate way, and of course, the thought that I thought be important to clarify that again. Number one, we're talking about genderless here, and number two is that when people are heavily traumatized, it's going to be showing up a lot, right? So one of healing the masculine, the feminine within us is to look at the relationship that we've had with either our carers or our parents or key people in our lives from that perspective. I personally I was born with very strong women around me. My grandmothers, both of them, my aunties are in businesses, my mother a very strong person, and there was a lot of masculine energy there. I don't know if it's right or wrong, but I know I picked up on that, and I did what I had to do, and it served me so well, but there was something missing there.
Yeah.
I thought it was coming to my mind, and I have this beautiful figure on my chimney, and that is the figure of a goddess, right? I don't know if she's a goddess or if she's maybe a priestess, but when we tap into the energy of the priestesses were leaders, right?
Exactly.
The witches
exactly.
And when we talk about the witches, we are referring to the wise women, right? They were the healers, they were the midwives. they were all leaders.
Yes.
Right, in their field.
Yes.
So that is another example that, you know, we could be and I'm not sure if people could see us here, but a priestess as such, you know, lead from that space of leadership,
Yes.
a space of authority.
Yes.
and
Absolutely.
and equally, yeah, being very balanced.
Yes.
Very
Yes.
balanced, yeah.
Yes. That's the key. That's the key. Balance. Balance. And there's nothing more beautiful than a balanced human being, whether you're a woman or a man. From my experience being in a relationship now after many years of being single with a conscious man who's balanced with his feminine and his masculine energy, it's like the most beautiful thing ever, because you see that the masculine doesn't need to be what we've been told, really strict or really direct. So it can be masculine, but when it has harmonious with the feminine, it can be tender at the same time, and it's just the more beautiful. And the same with a woman. You don't need to be all fluffy and floppy all the time. You can be a leader, you can be direct, and you can be strict from the compassion point of view, and that's love.
Yeah.
That's love.
And that's coming from a healing space, right? I mean,
Exactly.
the philosophy of an unhealed person, unhealed human is a disempowered human, right? So ultimately,
Absolutely.
I think we need to take our healing way. No, it's not. I think I know that we need to take our healing
Yeah.
way more seriously, and yeah.
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
thinking about the workplace now, and the work that I do with coaching and
Yeah.
and everything is that I realize that all we're doing is we're poking each other's traumas all the time in the workplace.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Trauma is a trauma party.
Absolutely.
So yeah, and part of that is understanding, going back to not only healing, going back to reconnecting with ourselves, going back to yeah, to the joy element.
To the joy. You had a beautiful sentence. I can't remember it now. About healers, leaders being healers or something like that.
Yeah, I haven't published it, but you know, we're publishing.
Oh.
No, this is exactly it. This is a podcast. Is, you know, it's on, and we, you know, whatever has to come out will come out. Is that let's heal the leader so the leader becomes a healer.
Exactly.
All right.
Beautiful. It's beautiful.
Just so the leader becomes a healer.
It's beautiful.
And imagine if the leaders.
It's beautiful. How powerful is that?
They heal.
How powerful
You
is
know,
that?
again, we don't need to be healed to lead. By the way, this is, you know, we could be a peace and a work in progress at the same time, as they say.
Yeah.
But,
yeah. But the more healed you are as a leader, or if you enter a relationship of any kind, whether it's romantic, friendship, any kind, the more healed you are, the less you project onto the other person, and the sooner you can heal any conflict and resolve any conflict, and the more you can actually help other people grow, because you've already healed that part of you, so that the other person just grows by being in your example.
You know, I feel like shifting the conversation.
Okay.
I feel like conversation, and I think you're gonna like it. Let's see what you think, because
I'm sure I will.
especially when we were thinking and talking about, I focus on what is working from a personal perspective and from a practical perspective. We need to give a few ideas or a few thoughts to the concept of thought.
Yes.
Because how many times we get into this spiral of negativity, right? We get into, okay, and it goes deeper and deeper and deeper and deeper and deeper and deeper. So I feel, especially with this card, I focus on what is working. I feel that we need to, spend some few minutes here talking about thought. Because how many people believe all thoughts they get? Because I thought that, it means it's true. And it means that I engage with it. When in reality, not all thoughts need to be engaged with. You get a thought, it doesn't mean that it's yours. And my power relies on the fact, my power relies when I engage with my thoughts. And when I get the thought. What do you think?
Yeah. I think it's really important, because thoughts are the basically we are creators. We don't know, many people don't know that we are creators, and most people live in a victim state, believing all the thoughts they have, and maybe stagnating in one thought that is not supportive of their life. But when we take personal responsibility, we become creators, and creators create with thought. We actually project out what we have within. And if what we have within is the result of a positive thought that causes positive emotions and beautiful feelings, then we create outside that beautiful reality, or that we see outside the result of what we think. If we engage with a negative thought, then it's exactly the opposite. We project out negativity, we see negativity, and have negative emotions and negative thoughts. I'm not saying it's wrong, but I'm saying that you can decide which one you prefer. Do you want to be on a negative state and feel bad, or do you prefer to feel positive? I prefer to feel positive and joyful and happy. And that's a result of a thought. And when you realize that, things like meditation and even emotional intelligence kind of lose its meaning in a way, because all you have to do, you don't need to concentrate on meditating or on the emotion that you're feeling. Just go to the original thought that created the state you're in right now. Why am I feeling a bit sad right now? Because I was thinking, okay, so let's shift that thought, let it go, and see what thoughts come next. Is it better? Yeah. Do I want to engage with it? Yeah. Then do it. If not, let it go too. And so to be aware of the thoughts we have in, and with thought we want to engage with, is the best habit we can create in our lives, because it's going to be the result of what you create outside of you.
Beautiful. Love it, love it, love it so much. And this is very practical thing, right? To
Indeed.
with our ladies, that hey, not all thoughts are yours. And how many times I had intrusive thoughts, and so many times I needed to ask myself the question, is this thought mine?
Mm-hmm.
Is this thought mine? And I know
Mm-hmm.
mine and what is not, right? And
Yeah.
I have engaged in thoughts and went down the spiral of negativity because I was in a victim mentality. So it's almost that spiral
Mm-hmm.
was feeding something within me that I needed at that moment of time, right?
Yes. Yes.
In one of the programs I facilitate, is a beautiful program. It's called Rise. We talk about the subject, and one way of doing that it's called the 3 C's, right? We talk about the 3 C's. The first one is very much based on what we're talking about now. It's called catch it. So I need to catch the thought first. I need to check it. Is this thought mine, right? And then I'm going to change it. So it's a
Love it.
way of, catch it, check it, change.
Love it.
When
Love it.
to our thoughts, right?
Love it.
So before we start wrapping up, Gemma, is there any practical tools or tips that you would like to share with our audience? Because, by the way, ladies, this podcast is as much as yours as it is for us.
Indeed.
And we keep with ourselves, hey, wait a minute, is this really, am I leading by example here? So it happens all the time. We have discussions post podcast, like, oh my god, I need to step up here or there, or that was a reminder, or that was
that was so related. It was happening in my life right now. This is for us. Yes, absolutely.
So, anything?
Well, I think it's really important to realize that we are in control of the thoughts we want to engage. We're not in control of the thoughts we have. I don't know where their thoughts come from, and we don't really need to know. Maybe from other people, because we are telepathic. Maybe from I don't know, from programming. It doesn't really matter. What matters is how aware are you of the thoughts you have in, and create the habit. How to create the habit? Just be aware of it. Just be aware of it. Teach yourself to be aware of the thoughts you have in, and choose which ones you want to engage with. And you can engage with thoughts that makes you a victim, and it's really easy. I mean, it's really easy to engage with a thought that makes you go into the victimhood, and then you start looking for a hero and looking for the bad one and looking for someone to blame, and that needs to shift straight away. Instead, if we choose an attitude of continuous growth, continuous learning, then it might be easier to focus on the thoughts that you have, because these thoughts are going to teach you what you are engaging with. What is it there to learn for you? What is there to change? Is it bringing up a fear? Is it bringing up a belief that is obsolete? So it will bring lots of things out for you to be aware, just to be aware of the thought. So I think if people go away just with that, with the idea of learning to be aware of the thought, and that you have the power to change your reality by changing the thought you having, that is just hugely transformational.
Huge, amazing. Yeah, that is very true. And from my point of view, what I would like to say is that be discerning, not because we said, oh, we had this discussion, it means it's the truth. This is our truth at this time, knowing what we know. So be discerning with us, with everyone else. And I would say, ask yourself the question of, what does feminine mean to me? Where did I learn the feminine from? How can I tap into my feminine? Do I need to tap into my feminine? Because maybe you don't need it, maybe you don't want to, right? So this is something else. And also what I would say is to look and observe the animal kingdom.
No.
Behavior, because sometimes our perception of what feminine and masculine can be clouded by our biases and assumptions and things that we've learned from somebody else. And watching the animal kingdom and observing them, it's huge realization. Yeah, absolutely. My cats are coming to my mind when they gave birth, 2 of them at the same time. Magic to watch, magic. Okay, so this is it for us.
That's it. Podcast number 4 completed. We're rolling. I hope you are enjoying it as much as we do making them and listen to them afterwards. And I think we're open, right, Lara, to suggestions of what subjects you would like to cover. And we're going to continue picking cards, but surely we can tap into any suggestions that you give us or any question that you give us through any conversation.
Idea actually, yeah, we could put it out there. Maybe every now and then, instead of picking a card, we just we can answer some of those questions and tap into the energy of the question that our audience. I love that. For sure. Ladies, this is it for us today, and we'll see you in 2 weeks.
2 weeks. Enjoy life in the meantime.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
That's all for today, ladies. Thank you so much for joining our conversation, and we truly hope you loved it. If you haven't yet, please do subscribe to our podcast and also share it with other fabulous ladies so they could benefit from it too. If you want to get in touch, you could find us on all major social media platforms. Speak to you very soon.